Welcome to the Astro Psyche. This is your weekly astrology forecast for July 28th through August 3rd. And this week we have a lot of different transits that are happening involving connecting more deeply with your inner heart space, the heart being the thing inside of you that is leading you toward that which is important to you, and the thing that brings you more into connection with yourself and with others. This involves Venus making several different aspects. We also have Chiron stationing retrograde this week, and we have a Cazimi, which is when the Sun and Mercury come together in a very special way. And lots of other things that we're going to talk about. My name is Shawna McGrath. I'm a depth psychotherapist and an astrologer, and I'm so honored to share the astrology of this week with you from a depth psychological perspective. So let's start at the beginning. So we begin the week with Venus still in the sign of Gemini. So this week, Venus is doing a couple of important things. And we want to keep in mind that Venus is a symbol of relationships, love, beauty, the pleasure principle, aesthetics, and at a more psychological level, Venus is a symbol of how we enjoy life, how we find pleasure and beauty and attraction, whether that is to people, places, things, all of those experiences. And Venus can also be a symbol of our relationship to money and our relationship to our sense of inner worth and value. So there's this multiple layeredness of all of the planets, but particularly of Venus, where we can begin either inner or outer being the more sensorial or material phenomena, and that tracks to an inner experience that we have, the inner experience of pleasure and joy and feeling connected to someone or something, and also the sense of how we feel about ourselves or someone else in relation to what is external. So that Venus really reminds us that there is this sacred connection between the internal and the external. Frankly, I think that all of the planetary bodies and most symbols for that matter can have that, where there is the more external experience of it, and then we can track that to the internal and vice versa. And Venus in particular is oriented around how we feel the sense of reciprocity, connection, and an enjoyment of life in particular, and how that in our current culture tracks to finances and worth because of the way that uh, our culture has been constructed at this point in time. So, okay, that's a long preamble, longer than I wanted to say, but I hope that you're getting the vibe for Venus and what Venus represents. Because Venus is doing a couple of different things this week that are important. So, Venus is still in the sign of Gemini. Venus stays in each sign for, we could think of about a month-ish, depending, give or take on either side. So Venus is in Gemini at the last part of Gemini. Venus this week is going to change signs from Gemini into the sign of Cancer. And once Venus does that, Venus will make some different aspects. But before that happens, Venus is making a sextile aspect to Chiron in Aries. And so the sextile aspect is a soft, subtle, and opportunistic sort of aspect. So it's not really requiring anything of us. a confrontational kind of energy. There's not the tension there. And it's something that we can pay attention to and that we can look for. We can look for the opportunities, we can look for openings. And in this case, this is a connection, an opportunity between relationships, beauty, and enjoyment, and healing. Chiron is a symbol of healing, the healing function, how healing works for us. And it's also a symbol of learning, teaching, mentorship. Chiron reminds me of this idea of, some may call it the teleological phenomena or the acorn phenomena. Uh, this idea that there is something inside of us that has a latent potential, that's a seed. So the acorn, because the acorn is going to become an oak tree at some point. And it's because it is a certain kind of seed, it's going to become a certain kind of tree. And we don't know where that tree will be or how big it will be or what kind of conditions it's going to be planted in, but we know that there is a certain inherent instinctual force that propels that seed to become the plant that it is becoming. And some say that we have that quality as humans as well, that there are certain things inside of us that are seeds that can be watered and tended to, and that when that happens, that there is something inside of us that is always present and has always been present, and that can continue to grow in a particular fashion towards something particular. So Chiron to me is a symbol of this because, or well, actually, let's see, I want to edit that. Chiron is a symbol of the situations or the people who help us become more of who or what we are becoming. They draw out of us our inherent skills, capacities. Um, we could even say they draw out of us a sense of meaning or purposefulness in our life. And so I know that sounds a little abstract. What this may look like more in practical terms is that there might be a connection with someone where it feels like, whether that's an existing relationship or someone that you're meeting, where it feels as if that person, or maybe it's a situation, is drawing something out from you, that there is something that you're being called to explore, or that you're learning, or that you're experiencing that has this regenerative or growth inducing experience for you. And that's going to be different for each one of us depending on where we're at and what's happening and all of those things. And I think that Venus in Gemini and sextile to Chiron in Aries, though it is a more subtle aspect, we can look for these ways where other people or other situations, or even something maybe like a book that you're reading, sparks something for you. And it moves you closer to an experience of feeling connected to yourself, in a sense of purposefulness and a sense of mastery within your own experience as a human. And when I say mastery, I don't mean mastery in a capitalistic monetization kind of way. I mean mastery in your ability to um, be a human in a way that feels good for you, in whatever way that feels good for you. So that may involve vocational things, that may involve work or career. It may not. It may involve mastery around sitting with challenging experiences. It may involve mastery in being more emotionally available to yourself or to the people that you care about. things like this. So that's a very present energy this week, and I wanted to spend some time talking about it here because it is more subtle and it's something that uh, you don't have to engage with if you don't want to, but you can keep your eye out for ways in which this may present some opportunities to you. Now, Venus moves into Cancer on Wednesday, July 30th at 8:57 p.m. Pacific time. So, depending on where you are in the world, it might be Wednesday, maybe into Thursday for you. So, this is a shift that I think for me this feels somewhat dramatic in that this is Venus immediately moving into a very different energetic quality, and it's also Venus immediately moving into aspect with Saturn, Neptune, and also Jupiter as well. And uh, with the movement recently of Uranus into the sign of Gemini, and then Venus being in Gemini during that recent change, Venus in Gemini over the last several weeks has had this electric, changeable, can be exciting, can be destabilizing kind of energy. And Venus in Cancer in some ways feels more rooted, stable, more enduring because of the nature of the difference between the zodiac sign of Cancer versus the zodiac sign of Gemini, and also because Venus being an aspect to Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter, though some of that is a bit transitional and illusionary, Saturn really brings an anchor to things. Saturn really brings, especially Venus to Saturn, there's an incredible quality of confronting realities and looking at the facts, looking at what is true for you and what is real for you, and what is true for you in your heart of hearts. Now, again, Neptune is there too, so there's a bit of uncertainty and questioning, and this is a bit of a journey to explore what is real for you. And it feels more slow and smooth in comparison to Venus in Gemini, especially with Venus being co-present with Uranus there. Now, let's see, what else do I want to say about this? So, reminder also that Venus in Gemini has been our our seeking out relationships and our seeking out love and pleasure and beauty has been in this mutable air sign, which is Gemini. Mutable signs are about paradox, they're about transition, they're about yes and. There's an incredible dynamic, fluid, inclusive quality to mutable signs. And Gemini also being an air sign, there is this even more fluidity and a lot of freedom when we're talking about Venus and Gemini. And so it has this butterfly sampling, uh, exploratory quality to it. And so that's been a bit of the energy there. And we're moving into Venus in Cancer, again, midweek, Wednesday, Thursday, when there's this moving into a place of the water element, which is more about our emotions and our relationships and our intuition and our feelings. Cancer is also a cardinal sign, and cardinal signs are about initiating new things. It's about beginning, it's about that even if it's not about beginning something new, with cardinal signs, there's a momentum to it. So I do want to say, uh, when we're talking about cardinal, mutable, or fixed, this is called the modes, M-O-D-E-S. And there's three different modes. There's cardinal, fixed, and mutable. And cardinal, let me back up for a second there. I'm saying this because the modes we can think of as modes of being, modes of expressing, and a way of moving through the world. It's a way that a sign or a person or a thing approaches life. And so, mutable signs, such as Gemini, there's this moving from thing to thing and sampling. There's a strong emphasis around rotating through multiple ways of being or multiple experiences. Um, it's very sampley. And though there's a lot happening, in some ways, it can feel like there's not an actual momentum in a particular direction. Whereas with cardinal, there is a strong orientation toward movement in a particular direction. And usually that usually feels oriented towards forward or initiating or beginning. It's more forward action. And so I'm sharing that with you because there might be a feeling of that. There might be a feeling of wanting to move forward or wanting to initiate. Again, it's this water sign. So water brings a sense of gravity to things. And though it's movement, it's what do I want to say here as I'm feeling into this? There's movement and there's also some weight or some contraction to it. And so, what this may look like for you is uh, feeling called in a particular direction and feeling called to move towards things that feel important to you, where there's a sense of gravity or weight to the thing via how important it is to you, how much you value it, or the possibly the commitment of the thing that you're moving towards. Um, and this connects us in with Saturn and Neptune as well. So Venus at the beginning of the sign of Cancer means that it's also making a square aspect to Saturn and to Neptune as those planets are in the early degrees of Aries. And so we could think of this in a couple of different ways. Um, Venus is connecting with Saturn and making a Venus Saturn experience. Venus is connecting with Neptune, invoking a Venus Neptune experience. And also, and we're going to talk about these, also, thirdly, Venus is aspecting the existing enduring combination of Saturn and Neptune together. So Saturn and Neptune have been traveling together really for the bulk of this year of 2025. They are very close together and they will be exactly conjunct, where they're at the same exact degree and minute of the zodiac in February of 2026. And and then uh, and then they'll separate in the months following that in 2026. So they're already so close, though, that any planet, such as Venus, that makes an aspect to them brings them more alive. It's sort of, we could think of it as throwing a little bit of salt or a little bit of extra spice into the dish, or maybe lemon or lime juice. It brightens all of the flavors. And so we can think of Venus as doing that. Venus uh, as saying, "Hey, look over here at Saturn, Neptune," in a Venusian kind of way. And so, what do all of those things mean? So let's pull it apart. So Venus Saturn as a combination is about connecting with your integrity in relationships. It's about connecting with your sense of ethics in relationship. Venus Saturn, I find, can have a bit of a reality check kind of energy where it can suddenly become very clear to you where things are really working and where you want to continue to commit, you want to continue to devote yourself to something. And then, in contrast, the ways in which either agreements or commitments need to be revised, or which feels very appropriate for Mercury retrograde, where agreements or commitments need to be changed in some way in order for this commitment, agreement, devotion to be sustainable for you. Whenever we have Saturn, it is often a question, or questions can often come up around our sense of, is what we're doing sustainable? Is what we're doing authentic? Is it worth it for you? These are all Venus Saturn questions. And also, Venus Saturn can simply speak to a love of tradition, history, a love of things that are enduring in some way. And so that might be a component of what's coming up this particular week for you. When we're talking about Venus Neptune as a combination, uh, Venus Neptune is about being immersed in a flow state of consciousness, a flow state of connection. Venus Neptune is really about merging. It is a classic symbol of the archetype of unconditional love and even a telekinetic um, experience where there is this merging of consciousness and being able to feel that attunement and resonance. So, Venus Neptune can also signal these experiences where we have almost an otherworldly experience of connection, either within ourselves, in nature, with another person, via a spiritual or altered state of consciousness experience. Venus Neptune is very creative too. So if that is something that you have a practice around, or even that you're called towards, we could think of uh, Venus Saturn and Venus Neptune being connected into your creative sense in being a channel for something that wants to come through you. And that doesn't have to mean creativity in the way that we think of it as creating art, such as painting or drawing or music, but it is allowing your being to be a creative experience and allowing something to come through you without really understanding logically what it is that wants to come through. Neptune is about feeling and being a channel for an experience of creativity or of consciousness. Um, what else do I want to say about this? So you may be feeling or thinking that Saturn and Neptune sound like very different energies. Saturn is about the limits of human existence, and Neptune says that limits are an illusion. So there's these two energies that are very, very different. And when they come together in this way, so this combination of Neptune and Saturn that we've had really the bulk of this year of 2025 and that we will continue to have into 2026, there's this theme around the illusions, the limits, and allowing ourselves to connect with what is real and then what is possible. Neptune is so much about vision and imagination and the ideal. Saturn is about the practical and the real. And with these two together, there can sometimes be a challenge around being able to discern what is an illusion and what is not. And there can be a general quality of confusion or not knowing around it. Um, and whenever we have Saturn, an aspect to a planet, we always want to be looking at where we can be moving towards our own integrity, ethics, and our own sense of choice around things, where we can feel a sense of that deep, authentic integrity and integrity out of a sense of feeling called rather than integrity out of a sense of duty or burden or should. With Saturn, I always am very suspicious when there's statements such as, oh, I should, or I have to, or what will they say? Like those kinds of things can get us into a pickle sometimes when we have Saturn. And then Neptune, in contrast, there is this quality of Neptune that where we benefit from softening our grip and being open while also staying awake and aware. Neptune, because it's like trying to grab water. So we don't want to try to grab the water because that is impossible unless it's ice. That's a different story, I suppose. But we want to open our hands into this cupped container so that we can scoop up what is there when we have Neptune. And so Venus coming into contact with these two planets, there's something here around relationships or enjoyment or pleasure or maybe finances or self-worth, self-concept that is uh, bringing up questions, bringing up questions of what's working for you, what's not working for you, where are there um, where are there things that you're working with around your vision, your ideal, your hope, and then what is currently in existence for you. So, uh, so curious what is coming up for you as I'm talking about this. Um, let's see, what else do I want to say about this? Oh, yeah. Okay. So I also want to say we're also keeping in mind that this is Venus with Jupiter in the sign of Cancer. So Jupiter has been in Cancer for, let's say, I think, has it been a month-ish now? And so Venus and Jupiter together, we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks as Venus gets closer to Jupiter. So we're also keeping in mind that there is this expansive, expansive, mm, inclusive, optimistic, overzealous kind of energy here with Jupiter as well. And so that's another subtle component of Venus in Cancer. Okay, so also this week, Chiron is stationing retrograde on Wednesday, July 30th at 7:41 a.m. Pacific time. So for most of us, I think that'll happen on Wednesday, maybe Thursday, depending. It's stationing retrograde at 27 degrees of Aries. And Chiron is, because of the way that it moves much more slowly, and because its orbit is a bit unusual, it's retrograde for a long period of time. So it's retrograde from Wednesday, July 30th until January 2nd, 2026, where it will station at 22 degrees of Aries. So Chiron is for through now until the end of the year, essentially, it will be retrograde in the last chunk of Aries. And this tells us that there's this emphasis around healing and self mastery, mentorship, teaching, learning, etc., those kinds of things. There is a particular emphasized quality there. And now, through the end of the year, it might be interesting for you to um, look back at, particularly, I would say, the last year or so, last year and a half, because Chiron is going back over this place. So, the last year and a half or so, what has your experience of healing been like? This could be healing in all the ways because usually they're very connected mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. What healing experiences have you had? What has your healing journey been like? And what have you noticed there? And I'm saying that because when a planet goes retrograde over a particular point in the zodiac, there can be a reflection back on the themes that happened around that time. So, in this case, the last year and a half. And yeah, this can be a returning and I think of it as a re-solidifying and strengthening the healing that has occurred over the last year and a half. So the way that I'm feeling into it for you is not that there's going to be um, necessarily new experiences, though, of course, I don't know, that might be the case, but it's more of a reinforcement of the things that you've been working on. So, um, my sense is that now through the end of the year, there is a greater sense of understanding around your healing journey as it's been going over the last year and a half, and possibly some validation around some things that you've been experiencing. Some of the beauty of a retrograde in general is that it validates and further clarifies and solidifies the things that we've been experiencing. Um, I don't know about you, but sometimes I find that very helpful to have a remembering and an even stronger sense of like, oh, okay, yes, this is what that was about. This is what that theme was. This is what's been happening. It it gives it more definition, and then often we can feel more secure in moving forward as well. Okay, so also this week, hmm, also this week, the sun will make a conjunction with Mercury. Mercury is still retrograde in the sign of Leo, and the Sun conjunct Mercury always happens in the middle of Mercury retrograde. So we always have this. We always have this point where the Sun and Mercury come together. And that is the point where Mercury is maximally invisible because it's so close to the Sun, so we cannot see it with our invisible eye. With our invisible eye, we can't, it's not visible to our eye. That's what I meant there. That's funny. So this is happening on Thursday, July 31st at 4:41 p.m. Pacific time at 9 degrees of Leo. So depending on where you are in the world, it might be happening Thursday, maybe Friday. And this is also called Cazimi, when an inner planet like this is conjunct the sun. And a large component of that from ancient astrology, they found that very important because the planet was not visible to us. It became invisible when it was so close to the sun. And ancient astrologers also thought it was very important when the planet was exactly conjunct the sun. They found that there was something renewing, energizing, that there was something sort of phoenix rising like about a conjunction to the sun. And so we can think of Mercury retrograde in this way, where there is something that is being burned off. In this way, it is quite an alchemical aspect because there is this heat of the sun. There's this, metaphorically, there's this heat of the sun burning off something from Mercury, the mind. So we could think of this also as our mind being purified, our analytical capacities. Mercury is also so connected to our ability to think symbolically, um, to work with divination, to work with intuition, to identify synchronicity, to connect with the other world in whatever way that works for us, whether that is through meditation or mindfulness or a practice of working with your ancestors or other deities. There is this theme of Mercury around communication and transmission, and that involves not just humans, but also the unseen world as well. And so there's something here that's being refined within your ability to communicate and to divine. And there might be this felt sense of renewal, of being extra shiny, so to speak. What else is here that I want to say about this? So Mercury is still retrograde, of course. So there's still this quality of introverted introspection, contemplation over the next couple of weeks. Mercury stations direct on, I believe it's August 11th. Let me just double check that. Yeah, the 11th at 4 degrees of Leo. So we have a little bit of time here with Mercury being retrograde. And we can think of this moment in time when Mercury is conjunct the sun, this renewal, this burning off of things, that there may be an immediate experience of that this week. And we can really look around at synchronicities and dreams, particularly Wednesday, Thursday, but frankly, I think all week we can be looking around for omens as to what it is that's happening in your life, what it is that's maybe being burned off or released or shifted in some way. And you can also keep in mind that this is happening in the sign of Leo. And Leo is about giving and receiving love. Leo is about being visible, being seen, authentically and spontaneously expressing, and all of the feelings that come up around those topics. So there possibly might be something here around creatively expressing yourself or being seen or being authentic. Uh, Something here that will get activated this week and then continue to unfurl over the next couple of weeks during the retrograde, and then even more so once Mercury stations direct on the 11th as it continues to move forward. And then there's that integration process. Uh, I have really been digging this idea of thinking of Mercury retrograde and all of the retrogrades for that matter, but particularly Mercury because it happens so often, thinking of it as a psychedelic or meditative or spiritual journey. Because you have the experience in a contained period of time, whether that is with mind altering substances or doing breath work or movement or anything else that puts you in an altered state. You have the experience, and then afterwards, there's a transition where you come out of that. Your consciousness shifts more into the waking state, and then ideally there is an integration period where um, we consciously and unconsciously sort through what has what has happened, what we've experienced. And so we can think of that as once Mercury turns direct, there's at least several weeks of integration process. And we're not there yet. We're still in the retrograde. So we're in this week, this sense of renewal process. So I'm really excited for you. I like these times, and it feels very special and very sacred and very much about connecting with an inner experience of yourself and something that may spontaneously come forward from within you. Okay, also this week that is connected into this Sun-Mercury aspect is the first quarter moon in Scorpio is happening Friday, August 1st at 5:41 a.m. Pacific time. So this is important because it relates to the sun. So the first quarter moon is where the moon makes a square aspect to the sun in about the week following a new moon. So we had our new moon in Leo last week. This week we have the first quarter moon in Scorpio. And this tends to be a time where we are emotionally taking risks or moving forward with things or seeing if we want to take emotional risks or move forward with things. In this case, I think it's really interesting that that the first quarter moon occurs with the Sun-Mercury conjunction, because it kind of feels as though there might be a clarification on how you want to move forward with something. Moon in Scorpio is so much about really rooting into your authentic experience, like how you actually feel about something, not how you want to feel, not how you wish you feel, but how you actually feel about a thing. And my sense is that especially Thursday, Friday, there might be this sense of dropping in to what is really, really true for you. And I encourage you to notice what comes up and to um, trust yourself, to trust your feelings. And sometimes feelings can be very confusing. They often don't mean what we think they mean, but there's something here that's coming up that might be clarifying for you here. Um, Yes, that's what I have to say about that. Okay, uh, last brief minor aspects involving the asteroids. So the asteroid Pallas in Aquarius is making a square to the asteroid Juno in Scorpio. And so what I want to say about that is, gosh, that so Pallas, also known as Pallas Athena, is an asteroid that is a symbol of fighting for things, of advocating for things in a way that is particularly strategic and that is about finding the most desired path forward. Pallas is also a symbol of crafts and creating things, particularly creating things with your hands. We could think of Pallas as the strategic creative impulse, whether that is towards argumentation or standing up for something or fighting for something or creating something that is beautiful. There's this strong, Pallas to me feels very like Mars Mercury combo. There's a strong, like, thinking through and analyzing and finding a path forward. Again, whether that is for creating something for the sense of enjoyment or through fighting for something. Now, the other asteroid here, Juno, is a symbol of commitment, bonding, and how to stay engaged and how to stay engaged and emotionally present in commitments. And this can be commitment to people, commitment to situations, commitment to yourself, all manner of commitments. And so that these are in tension here. I find this really interesting too because Pallas Athena has in the Greek pantheon of deities, Pallas Athena had this more maiden, youthful sort of quality, sort of the beginning stages of life. And Juno, in contrast, was more about the middle stages of life. Juno's role was really about being a householder and the commitments that we have when we're in the middle age era of life. And it's very interesting that these two are in a square. It feels to me as though there might be some sorting out how to feel dynamic and engaged and alive and creative while also tending to your responsibilities. And as I'm saying that, I'm feeling how this is really mirroring the Venus Saturn, Venus Neptune, how to stay connected to your principles and your vision and your ideal while also tending to the things that you need to tend to in order to live a material world human existence. So those are my thoughts on the astrology of this week. I would love to pull some cards and see what else there is to say, what else is happening. Okay, so I so appreciate you being here. And if you're not already, I invite you to get into a place that feels comfortable, where you can relax and connect with your own energy. You may wish to either be in a place of stillness or a place of movement. See what feels good for you. You may wish to close your eyes or to focus on something in front of you that feels soothing. And as you're here, imagine that you are surrounded by this beautiful sphere of light. This light can be any color. If you're not a visual person, you can also imagine that there's a felt sense for this protective sphere around you. Maybe there's a temperature or a texture, or maybe just an inner knowing that this beautiful, strong, protective space is surrounding you. In this place, you may wish to invite in the presence of your spiritual guidance team, ancestors, whoever or whatever is that benevolent, protective, guiding force. And ask that they are here with you to protect you, to help you, and to communicate with you in a way that you can easily understand. Hmm. Okay. If you like, you may pick a number between 1 and 3, and that card will be special to you. Okie dokie. So first card is the Four of Swords, and I did pull this reversed. So in this deck, the Four of Swords has an image of a person laying on the floor with their legs up the wall, and they have their kitten on their belly, and their eyes are closed, and they just like look totally chill and restful. So, is there anything else I want to say about this card? There's also like a candle there, and yeah, they're laying on their bed, it looks like. And outside the window is very stormy, it appears. Like there's bats outside, and it's sort of like gloomy out the window there. Okay, so Four of Swords typically is a card of rest, renewal, rejuvenation. It's a card of inaction, and it is reminiscent of the Hanged Person, where it basically says, hey, you would benefit from some sort of rest, relaxation, rejuvenation, or stillness in some way. And when I say stillness, it may involve physically doing less or physically being still, but I'm reading this as not literal, as symbolic. And so stillness could mean a lot of different things for you. Sometimes we feel the most still when we're in movement. um, this card is more about um, taking a step back so that your body, your mind, your psyche, your spirit can have some healing and repair. And I pulled this reversed. So, what may that mean for you? I don't quite know. I kind of want to look into the other cards here. And when this card is reversed, it can sometimes mean that we don't want to, or that we can't, or that it feels challenging to figure out how to have this experience of restfulness. Like how you might be like, Shawna, how do I do that? Even if it's possible in your life to do things that one may typically say are restful, it may be difficult for you to downshift your nervous system. So that might be a quality of this, of what's happening here. So, um, hmm. What else? I feel like there's something else here. It may also mean, because if I hold this card upside down, it looks like the person is looking down at the ground, like they're looking at a flipped perspective. So there might be something here, possibly around looking at things from a different perspective. Four of Swords, especially because it's stormy outside in this deck, there might also be something here around finding a safe haven or a protective space away from what feels chaotic in your life. That might be what this is about. But I want to look at some of the other cards. So I'm curious, see how that sits with you. What is sort of pinging in your mind as resonant? And we may go back to that. Okay, second card is the Tower card. Or no, not the Tower card. It looks like the Tower card. Oh, that's weird. So this is the Ten of Pentacles. God, that's so funny. I literally thought this was the Tower card because if you're able to see the video, there is this what looks like a building in the background that's like leaning and it has a big butterfly on top of it. And it looks like it's sort of like the top is sort of exploding out into the sky. But this is the Ten of Pentacles, and Ten of Pentacles can be about our family, literally, ancestrally, and metaphorically. So Ten of Pentacles has also a theme of culmination around it, a theme of wealth, abundance, accumulation. And we can also think of it as um, this developmental culmination, i.e., end of life or late stages of life sort of culmination, where there's a lot that's happened, there's a lot that you've been through, there's a lot that you've done, and that changes things for us when we have when we've been through a lot. It changes our psyche, it changes our consciousness, it changes our perspective when we've been through many different ordeals. And I'm wondering if that's a component of the building in the background is maybe you've built a lot and maybe you've been through a lot. And when that happens, um, there can also be complicated feelings around it too. There can be a feeling of satisfaction, sometimes regret, sometimes grief, sometimes expectation. Um, And I did pull this card reversed too. And so that's what do I want to say about that here? So, Ten of Pentacles reversed sometimes can say that we're like, oh, like why can't I just get there? Like you want the culmination or the completion or the results to be here now. And it feels like it's either taking forever or it's not going to happen or it feels excruciating to wait, or you're like, oh, I'm doing all of the things and it's not coming together. It's not coming together in the timing that I am needing or wanting. And, um, hmm. And also, more literally, sometimes the Ten of Pentacles can indicate that, reversed can indicate that we're craving community support, that there is a very valid need for support, and that there may be, because it's reversed, there may be a need to find support in different ways, um, to be a bit more creative or divergent, or um, to find resources in different places than we would typically think. I might have more to say about that. I'm not quite sure. But I do think it's really interesting that we have the Four of Swords, which is about this finding healing, finding repair, maybe changing the perspective a little bit. And then the Ten of Pentacles is a card that typically shows symbols of support and supports that have grown over a long period of time. And they're both reversed. So there's something here that um, there's something here that's in flux or that you're exploring or wanting. I'm not quite sure. Let's look at, oh, okay. So, all right, I have a sense now. Okay, so um, last card is the Queen of Pentacles. And the Queen of Pentacles, I often get when there's a theme around prioritizing your own health, your own needs, your own well being. Queen of Pentacles can be about taking care of others, about nurturing others, about meeting the needs of other people. There's a strength and a power to the capacity to be a provider, to be a caretaker, to be the to be the to be the person that you need to be for yourself, but also the person that other people look to for support, encouragement. Um, Queen of Pentacles in general is someone that other folks may lean on often. Um, that people can sometimes find the Queen of Pentacles very easy to lean on, to seek out for um, a sense of a stable presence. Queen of Pentacles, so much more than any of the other court cards, is a symbol of presence, of being deeply attuned and deeply present in a way that where there's simply this um, indescribable experience of someone really being here with you. And there's great value in this. And so, and this needs to be replenished, this ability to be present, whether that is present with yourself in your own experience or with other people or with an experience in general. So, when I'm looking at this, I'm really struck by this. My sense is that maybe, possibly, there's been some sort of either hardship or output that you've had, um, and there's a need to repair or replenish. Now, you might be saying, Shawna, that is all of us. Like that is not a unique experience. That is a human experience, particularly now in the state of the world. And also, that does not diminish that does not diminish your own um, need for healing and rejuvenation in your particular way, in a way that you need because of the things that you've been dealing with, even if they're collective, typical human things, that there's still something personal here for you. And so there's something here around um, healing in the sense of like really deep healing, actually, I think. Healing and taking a beat, taking a pause, And there's also something here around either getting support and doing that in a way that feels like the support is actually meeting your needs, and that might be different than what you expect or the way that you've usually done it. Um, and also it's, gosh, what am I feeling into here? It's also making me wonder what you need in order to continue with whatever it is that you're working on. And that working with this, that like getting the rest that you need, getting the support, or doing the changes that you need to make. And I do feel like there are changes possibly that need to happen here because I so strongly thought this was the Tower card initially. So there's maybe possibly some changes, and that leads you to being able to take care of yourself in a sustainable way that is more powerful, and that helps you not just take care of yourself, but feel this sense of empowerment in that process, and a sense of confidence, and a sense of grounded stability. Now, uh, the last bit as I'm reading this cards, I realized I didn't tell you the reflection questions for this week. So usually I do that before the tarot, but surprise, I did not. So I'm going to share them with you right now. So, reflection question number 1: what does your heart want to tell you right now? What does your heart want to tell you? Reflection question number 2: what deep truths are emerging from your heart? What deep truths? And number 3: how can you create safe and flexible space for your joy this week? Such a joy and an honor to be here with you. I am wishing you a most safe and easeful and possibly even joyous week. And I will see you next week. Bye.